I won't keep you in suspense any longer. Let's rock and roll with Q&A. I know natural family care is a little intimidating for some people just because it's such a new subject. And I don't mean new as in you've never heard about it before, but new as in most people are not practicing natural family care in their home right now. We usually have our conventional over-the-counter stuff in the cabinet, and we always go to that cabinet and open it up the second we have the symptoms that we're used to getting. And the whole point of this chapter is to open up an entirely new world and let you know that that is not the only way that it can be done. And to know that also that's really, we're the only country in the world that really acts that way. Now, other countries have become infected with our way of thinking, which is smoldering symptoms and not actually going after diseases. So there are some other countries who are kind of being influenced by how the U.S. does medicine. But the minority of the population on this planet is using our type of medicine or our type of approach to family care. And it's really, really important for you guys to know that there's other ways out there, and there are practitioners who are well equipped to take care of you and your family, the first line of defense for you and your family. So don't feel like you have to just go home and do this yourself. You have professionals in your area, usually mothers of 3 or 4 who've been practicing herbs for 25, 30 years, who learned from their moms. Wonderful lineage of knowledge coming from people who've been practicing it for a long time, people you can definitely trust. So, first question. This is the first time I've had to wait more than 5 seconds for a question. Yes. Varicose veins. Boy, that's an interesting question. Varicose veins, I guess in its simplest form of explanation, it's a loss of integrity of the vessel wall. And what happens is the vessel kind of balloons up in a certain area where it's weak. And it definitely is, it's a lifestyle thing. There is also genetic susceptibility for varicose veins, whereas it can be in your blood and in your DNA to have issues like that. You can have certain key genes like that. As I've said before, lifestyle can keep it from happening. Doesn't have to be expressed. If you have varicose veins, though, usually the way to get rid of them or minimize them is a combination of both toning, physical toning, and blood flow through the area so that the vessel can kind of smooth itself back out again. There's also herbs and topicals that are toning as well that can be used for varicose veins. And there are laser treatments that can be used for varicose veins. Laser is a form of frequency or energy medicine that is being used not only in cardiology, it's also being used in chiropractic and things like that. Cold laser therapy is a phenomenal therapy that works very well in healing of tissues. Laser maybe, I've actually met several cardiologists who do laser work on varicose veins, and it works very well. I don't know what, if there are repercussions to a laser type of treatment for varicose veins, but I do know there is a lot of stuff that can be done, primarily toning type of things that can be done using herbs and things like that. But it's also an exercise thing. I know massage can also help. Again, usually it's kind of the concept of strong wind makes strong trees. Usually if you challenge the area a little bit physically, you'll start to get resources there and it'll start to kind of build itself back up. So hopefully that can give you a little bit. That's a really hard one to go after sometimes because people can't really put a finger on why it happens. So it's kind of hard to go back and try to figure out lifestyle factors and all of that. But that may give you a little bit of an idea. Yes, sir. Right, that's a very, very good question. The question was going back to the statement in the lesson about consuming adequate amounts of essential nutrients, and how do you know what adequate amounts of essential nutrients are? First part of that question, We need to make sure when you're consuming the nutrients that they are definitely in a raw or a natural form, that they haven't been changed by cooking, they haven't been altered, so to speak, out of their most natural form. So amino acids, you said you did some research and you found someone that said 0.4 grams of protein per pound of body weight, okay? Another way to translate that in some ways is 0.8 grams per pound of muscle mass, okay? Being that most of you don't have access to a way to measure your muscle mass versus your overall weight to net out the weight from blood and skin and organs and stuff like that, usually the best way to do it is to make sure that you're getting 1/2 gram per pound of body weight. That's kind of a general, there's some people who say less, some people who say more. In the bodybuilding world, it was usually 2 to 2.5 grams per pound. We were literally eating 300 to 400 grams of protein a day. But that's the only way that you could build muscle on top of itself. For essential amino acids, take your body weight, cut it in half, and that's the amount of grams that you should look to get in protein on a day-to-day basis. That type of intake will severely decrease loss of muscle tissue as you age and loss of bone mass as you age. Okay? Essential oils. An uncooked, raw LA and ALA, essential oil supplement or intake, needs to be upwards 3 grams a day. Okay? Now, some of that can come from a supplement, and the other can come from oil that might be on salads or food or something that you prepare. And if you don't get all of that in one day, you just have to make sure you kind of keep to that level as you flow throughout your week. Does that make sense? Because you may not always get consistent amounts in the day. And it's kind of, when you really think about it on a common sense level, our ancestors, you couldn't plan everything every day. They didn't really have supplements like that. So as long as you get close, it's good. Minerals, there is no recommended intake for minerals. When you look at the RDA, as it relates to the USDA and food labeling, RDA is like bottom level, you need this to be breathing kind of stuff. It definitely is not maximizing your health type levels. So you can't really look to RDA other than just do not fall below RDA when it comes to minerals and vitamins. But the two primaries that you really can keep your eyes on are the essential fatty acids and the essential amino acids. Those are the main ones. Other than that, you want to find a good multi-mineral complex that, again, is chelated, because you want it to move through the intestinal wall and make it into the blood. That is very, very important as well. And then the non-essential, which we are starting to call essential, is making sure you're getting enough probiotics, or at least that you're feeding your gut whole foods so that your gut bacteria, your gut health can stay there. Otherwise, you won't assimilate any of the stuff I just told you to eat. Does that make sense? If you don't have a healthy gut, you're not going to assimilate any of the food you're eating anyways. So if you are specifically concerned about the health of your gut and digestive tract, your stomach, your intestines, those type of things, which, by the way, you all should be. No matter how healthy you are right now, it should be a concern of yours to keep your gut extremely healthy, because that's where your health center is. Probiotics can come in the form of kombucha tea, especially for those of you who are looking for substitutes of pop and things like that. Kombucha is a wonderful traditional fermented tea beverage that has all kinds of probiotic strands in it. And it's natural. The carbonation in it is natural. They don't pump CO2 into it. It's a phenomenal drink. Other than that, you want to look for a certified organic probiotic that is derived and it's fermented and it's made exactly how it's supposed to be. That's a very good question about essential compounds, because that's important when it comes to natural family care. Yes, sir. The question was, is there a substitute for Ritalin? Yes and no. First of all, saying that there's a substitute would mean that it was needed in the first place. And there's plenty of data to show that it's usually not needed. That usually if a child has behavioral problems, it's an environmental issue, or it's a nutrition issue. A child has other things it needs opposed to the drug trying to squash, again, the symptom of the behavior. Also, when you have a child, the way that the development processes they're in are severely affected by their environment. So I don't really know of any specific, like a homeopathic remedy isn't coming to mind right now that would be something that a parent would begin to use to see if they could wean their child off of Ritalin or something like that. That is something that that's a question I would direct to a practitioner of homeopathy, a master herbalist. Good example here locally, Leslie Adams out of Balance RX she's a pharmaceutical doctor. She's a master herbalist. She can help. She's someone who you'd want to talk to about something that specific. Because I know that there's things that can be done. Most of it's lifestyle related. The other specifics would probably be a professional's type of opinion. It's a very good question, though. I know a lot of people are wondering about childhood drugs. Yes, sir. The question was about people, there's a lot of stuff out there about the magnets or bracelets and things that people are using. Do I have any comments on that? Some of them, the more commercialized stuff and the mass-produced stuff, I wouldn't really recommend. However, it's not because I don't believe in the frequency concept. Because, for example, a study just came out showing that surfaces, the type of surface that is in a hospital, for example, affects how many bacteria are in a hospital. So what they did is they did research showing that a copper surface, simply changing the surface, a very thin layer to copper, would kill 98% of the germs in a hospital. Just because of the frequency that copper carries. And I carry a copper tile every day in my pocket. Because the frequency of copper is antibacterial just in nature. For some reason, I don't know why, but it is. So yes, there is merit to those diodes and things like that. There absolutely are. I would just tell you to do research on them and kind of make a decision for yourself. You know, we endorse the grounding stuff. You know, we have that in the health resources area of the website, and some people don't really understand the grounding concept, the earthing concept, the grounding concept. But again, it's something that we've studied enough and we've seen it work that we're comfortable endorsing it, especially with the amount of electromagnetic fields and frequencies around us that haven't been around us at any time in human history and really haven't been studied up to this point. So anyone who tries to argue and tell you that there's not enough data to support using that, you're right, there isn't enough data because no one wants to spend money to research it. There's not a bunch of money in it. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, I'm going to stay here to answer any further questions. We're going to close it out for tonight. You guys have a safe trip home, and we will see you for the next lesson. It will be fascinating. It's mind-body. All right? Have a great night.